There's no real structure. There's no, I guess, that's kind of what Obama was talking about, too. And then O'Reilly had a good talking points.
I was in the Fox
of the
dress.
show yesterday.
By the way, his interns, O'Reilly, he has one intern who's so beautiful, I almost wept.
Really?
Oh, my, I wanted to just, you ever just look at someone and go, I want to cry looking at you, you're so perfect. But we were watching the other, because I did Red Eye, we were in the other agreement. I couldn't hear a word he said, but you could see that he was really getting amped up.
He was yelling.
Well, I saw
getting amped.
I saw your tweet where you said O'Reilly's yelling
at me because I'm sitting on the couch, I'm watching it, and I just felt like I was being talked to by O'Reilly.
Do we have it here?
It was let's
listen to this.
This is pretty good.
Oh, wow. So far, I like it a lot. Oh, wow. I'm making a great point there.
Subject of this evening's Talking Points memo. On Friday, the president delivered surprise remarks to the press about the Trayvon Martin case and race in general. His main point, a plea for understanding.
There are very few African-American men in this country who haven't had the experience of being followed when they were shopping in a department store. That includes me. I don't want to exaggerate this, but those sets of experiences inform how the African-American community interprets what happened one night in Florida.
And that's true. Many black Americans harbor at least some resentment for past injury. But what President Obama surely knows is that you cannot reach a fair criminal verdict or design effective public policy that solves present problems by dwelling on the sins of the past. Talking Points believes the president was correct in addressing the race issue and framing it with the Martin case. He's the leader of America, and the country's talking about this. By the way, when you hear a pundit or politician saying we should have a, quote, conversation about race, that means you're in for a sea of bloviating, which will likely lead nowhere.
Bloviating.
The sad truth is that from the president on down, our leadership has no clue at all about how to solve problems within the black community, and many are frightened to even broach the issue.
Yep.
That's because race hustlers and the grievance industry have intimidated the so-called conversation, turning any valid criticism of African-American culture into charges of racial bias.
Yes.
So many in power simply walk away, leaving millions of law-abiding African-Americans to pretty much fend for themselves in violent neighborhoods. You want racism? That's racism. Thus, it is time for some straight talk. And I hope the president is listening tonight, because we need him to lead on this issue. Trayvon Martin was killed because circumstances got out of control. He was scrutinized by neighborhood watchman George Zimmerman because of the way he looked. Not necessarily his skin color, there's no evidence of that, but because he was a stranger to Zimmerman and was dressed in clothing sometimes used by street criminals. It was wrong for Zimmerman to confront Martin based on his appearance. But the culture that we have in this country does lead to criminal profiling because young black American men are so often involved in crime. The statistics, overwhelming. But here's the headline. Young black men commit homicides at a rate 10 times greater than whites and Hispanics combined.
There you go.
When presented with damning evidence like that, and like the mini Holocaust in Chicago where hundreds of African Americans are murdered each year, the civil rights industry looks the other way or makes excuses. They blame guns, poor education, lack of jobs. Rarely do they define the problem accurately. So here it is. The reason there is so much violence and chaos in the black precincts is the disintegration of the African American family. Right now, about 73% of all black babies are born out of wedlock. That drives poverty. And the lack of involved fathers leads to young boys growing up resentful and unsupervised.
Bingo.
When was the last time you saw a public service ad telling young black girls to avoid becoming pregnant?
You'd be crucified.
President Obama done such an ad?
Like
How about Jackson or Sharpton? Has the Congressional Black Caucus demanded an ad like that? How about the PC pundits who work for NBC News? White people don't force black people to have babies out of wedlock. That's a personal decision, a decision that has devastated millions of children and led to disaster both socially and economically. So, raised without much structure, young black men often reject education and gravitate towards the street culture, drugs, hustling, gangs. Nobody forces them to do that. Again, it is a personal decision. But the entertainment industry encourages the irresponsibility by marketing a gangsta culture, hip-hop movies, trashy TV shows to impressionable children. In fact, President Obama has welcomed some of the worst offenders in that cesspool to the White House, when he should be condemning what these weasels are doing. These so-called entertainers get rich, while the kids who emulate their lyrics and attitude destroy themselves. And then there's the drug situation. Go to Detroit and ask anyone living on the south side of the 8 Mile Road what destroyed their city. They will tell you narcotics. They know addiction leads to crime and debasement. But what do the race hustlers and limousine liberals yell about? The number of black men in prison for selling drugs. Oh, it's so unfair. It's a nonviolent crime. And blacks are targeted. That is one of the biggest lies in the history of this country. The thugs who sell hard drugs, no matter what color they are, deserve to be put away for long periods of time. They sell poison. They sell a product that enslaves and kills. They are scum. When was the last time you heard the Congressional Black Caucus say that? How about Jackson and Sharpton? How about President Obama? The solution to the epidemic of violent crime in poor black neighborhoods is to actively discourage pregnancies out of marriage, to impose strict discipline in the public schools, including mandatory student uniforms, and to create a zero-tolerance policy for gun and drug crimes, imposing harsh mandatory prison time on the offenders. And finally, challenging the entertainment industry to stop peddling garbage. Hey, listen up, you greed heads. If a kid can't speak proper English, uses the F word in every sentence, is disrespectful in his or her manner, that child will never be able to compete in the marketplace of America. Never. And it has nothing to do with slavery. It has everything to do with you Hollywood people and you derelict parents. You're the ones hurting these vulnerable children. You want a conversation? You got it. You want a better situation for blacks? Give them a chance to revive their neighborhoods and culture. Work with the good people to stop the bad people. Pumping money into the chaos does little. You can't legislate good parenting or responsible entertainment. But you can fight against the madness with discipline, a firm message, and little tolerance for excuse making. It is now time for the African American leadership, including President Obama, to stop the nonsense. Walk away from the world of victimization and grievance. And lead the way out of this mess.
Just walk away.
And that's a memo.
Damn. It's too bad not one black person heard what Riley had to say.
Not one black person heard that.
He just said that to a wall.
He's right about most of it.
Oh, it was great.
You can't agree with everything there.
You Hollywood people. He kind of lost me on. Really, Bill?
I like limousine liberal. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I like how he says Jackson and Sharpton.
Jackson and Sharpton and his ilk.
He was.
I like it. I like that.
Hey, you know what? It's out there. It's honest. It's you know,
a little braver than
right,
most.
right. Sure. Than most people. You know, he wasn't tiptoeing around the fact of even saying black instead of African American. You know, and he's right about the family unit and stuff.
Absolutely.
When you get a 75% illegitimacy rate like that, it's going to cause problems, and you see it in a lot of the younger black kids that are growing up without any type of male representation of the family. A mother that doesn't do anything, she's powerless to do anything as far as discipline goes. Sorry. I mean, we all like sitting here and thinking, oh, a family could be anything. It could be the single mom. It could be that. But when it's this institutional version of just fucking the single mom that does nothing, she collects welfare, she has no discipline over the child, they're going to run rampant. And that's what we're seeing at this point. We're seeing young teens running rampant. in big cities.
And he's right about I'll say this about the entertainment industry, what makes me sick. I don't think they cause the problems, but they do glorify it. And what bothers me is I don't care if they glorify it, but then they come out and try to do public service announcements.
Yeah, it doesn't work.
It's like, shut the fuck up. Like, I don't mind movies like Two Guns. God, I don't give a fuck. I don't believe that makes people commit crimes. But then don't come out and preach to me about how to speak or think or address issues. That's where entertainment loses me, is when they try to be fucking preachy despite what they do to make money. It's like, just do what you do to make money and go home and stop feeling guilty, collect your millions, and shut the fuck up.
I don't think the entertainment industry should be blamed for anything like that. But parents should be blamed for, or parent should be blamed for allowing their kid to listen to certain things. Yeah. There's a parenting issue like there is with any movie that's a little too much for certain kids to watch. Yeah. And there's music that kids at that age probably shouldn't be influenced by that much.
But you have to have parents to even go down that road.
Right, exactly. You need parents that are going to say no. And when you're learning how to speak, and all you're getting it from is the entertainment industry, he's right. Yeah, how are you going to compete when you got people like fucking Rachel Jeantel and the way she speaks trying to apply for a job? If she sat down in front of your desk for a job interview, would you entertain the thought of hiring her for a second?
Honestly, it would depend on the Rachel Jeantel you got. If you got the one in court, because apparently she's got like a decent GPA, like she's not. You might get a different version if you sat in front of her.
She's got a decent GPA because they just fucking shoved these people through.
Maybe.
She's 19 and she's still in high school.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, she doesn't have a
they
real
pass them all
real
right
GPA.
Through. She couldn't speak. What?
Doesn't she speak 3 languages, though?
Please.
She speaks 3 languages because she was raised in a fucking household that spoke 3 languages. She didn't learn English and then go off to school and learn 2 other languages.
Learn French.
There's plenty of dummies that know 2 languages because there's 2 languages being spoken in the house.
She's delightful.
She's a tool. She's a big, fat, dumb mess.
Here we go. Here's Amanda in Nashville, Tennessee. Amanda.
Yes, hi.
Hello. Are you a black lady?
No, God, no. I'm white and proud.
All right.
Wow.
So what do you got on the topic at hand?
Okay. Well, like yesterday, my husband and I are watching TV, and they're showing these shows, making fun of kids between 3 to 10-year-olds, black children, of course, humping each other and dancing.
Oh, yeah, I've seen those.
And you're like, okay, you guys are going to jump up and down about this race card thing. Well, what are you doing about your children? Why is it that black children are allowed to act like...
But isn't that good, clean fun as long as no semen is being spilled?
Not to the degree that I saw that. Yeah, sure.
When you see fucking 7...
age,
7 and 8-year-olds are grinding on each other, literally grinding on. I've seen plenty of videos on. I guess they were showing, and then I guess some of the TV shows pick up and like, oh, look at this funny video,
right?
And it's it's kids grinding on each other like they're fucking.
And when you talk to the parents about it, they're like, oh, well, that's just a cultural thing. That's just what we do.
That's the new cop-out. That's the new excuse. It's like, and that's because too many white people have been saying, like, well, this is a problem. This is a problem. And then you'll get the excuse of, you can't address this because this is our culture. And you can't excuse it by calling it a culture.
But if you say something negative is cultural, you're called a racist or whatever. But if you say something positive is cultural, that's acceptable.
That's acceptable, and it's great. Right.
White family let their children act that way, or Hispanic, they would be yanked out of the home in a second. When you let the black kids act that way, oh, that's just our culture, that's just our way. Well, that's the reason why y'all are getting pregnant at 10 and 12 years old. That's the why that most of, these people who have no concern over anything other than what the world is going to give them.
Yeah,
like, no.
They're sexualizing him at a very early age, and again, that just leads to more illegitimate children. And I don't know. At least people are talking about it, but it's so hard to speak honestly. If you speak honestly, I challenge anybody to go on Twitter and speak openly and honestly, and respectfully. But you will be you'll get a shitload of tweets about what a racist you are. It's amazing.
It doesn't matter how respectful you are. You're a piece of shit if you are any color if you're white, you're a racist and you're a piece of shit if you mention anything about any other race.
Yeah.
However, it's perfectly okay for them to dog everyone else in the world. No.
I hear you.
Control this shit.
All right, Amanda. Thank you for your input.
All right,
in Nashville.
All right,
Thank you.
then.
Tennessee.